Hello, everyone, and welcome to One Civil Law, where, as always, we learn through the misfortunes of others. I am your host, Uncivil Law, a licensed attorney in Virginia and Texas. It is April the 20th of 2023, and we are here with all the legal news that is going on in our world to help make sure that you are legally informed. We begin with the continuing battle over access to the abortion pill, which has made its way to the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has put in place a temporary stay with respect to the district court order in Texas that had put a ban on the bill using the Comstock Act and otherwise looking to FDA approval processes, saying that the FDA did not go through the proper process of approving the drug either initially, which was 20 years ago, or through its modification, expanding access or expanding the time frame in which the drug could be used, rather, expanding how long into the pregnancy the drug could be used in 2016. And also in 2016, allowing for it to be mailed, which was not previously true. So either the FDA screwed up the initial approval or they screwed up the expansion in time frame and the expansion by mail, or so the Fifth Circuit, or apologize, the district court thought. The U.S. Supreme Court has put in place a temporary stay, but the Supreme Court has indicated that further action will be happening and probably happening pretty soon. So the Supreme Court initially gave itself this deadline of Wednesday to decide what's going on, but I don't know necessarily that means that something will happen today. It might, but the Supreme Court might give itself some additional time. The Supreme Court might give itself some additional time because the entire thing, of course, is on a fairly accelerated schedule, as you would appreciate. The Supreme Court gave itself a deadline of Wednesday to decide on access, but the justices have said they now need more time and have said they expect to act by Friday. So, yeah. And whether or not they will even act by Friday, I think is a bit questionable because, again, this whole thing is super duper accelerated. The Supreme Court is acting really, really fast. The district court only issued its order like 2 weeks ago or something. And so the Supreme Court getting involved in already issuing orders, it's a pretty accelerated time scheme. The Supreme Court has acted this fast before in the past, and even faster, I think, sometimes. But it's unusual, to be sure. The controversy, of course, comes less than a year after the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. And so there's obviously concern about how the legal issues in play are much different than they were in that case. So because the Supreme Court overturned Roe doesn't really seem to imply what they will or will not do here, to be honest. And I found the district court's decision to be a little bit lacking in its legal acumen. I found it to be a little thin, and it seemed to me to be end-based reasoning. The district court seemed to be working from a conclusion rather than working from first principles, or at least that's how I parse the decision. So there's a lot there. And the Comstock Act, and also in general, is a bit of a zombie law, and the interpretations that have been given to it are a little bit opposed to what the district court did. So it's a very strange thing how things are going on. So the high court is looking at this, and of course, the drug in question is, I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's mifepristone, which is also known as RU486. It was initially approved in 2000, and then in 2016, the FDA expanded its use from 7 weeks into pregnancy into 10 weeks of pregnancy, which one would imagine would somewhat complicate the health risks. I mean, I'm no expert on the subject, but I would imagine that that there's an increased risk from that based on the term of the pregnancy. So, I mean, that would be my first thought, at least. And so I'd want to know that it's safe and effective and can be used safely. And also, of course, as I mentioned, they eliminated the need to go visit a doctor in person and be obtained by the mail. So in its initial approval, RU486, 7 weeks into pregnancy, must go see a doctor. In 2016, 7 to 10, now it's 10 weeks, and now by mail. And of course, there's been a generic approval of it, but that's pretty typical. So the generic is probably not a relevant issue in this frame, because that's just sort of normal operation of law. The medication is one of two medications that you typically used in the abortion process. Healthcare providers said they could switch to the other drug, but the other drug by itself has more complications and presents more problems. So it does necessarily present some issues there. So let's see what else we can talk about. Of course, also, in this case, things complicated because on the same day the district judge in Texas issued his order, a court in Washington state issued a different order that came out at almost exactly the same time, which was pretty interesting, just in sort of the raw coincidence of it. And these two decisions, although they don't really relate to each other, they came up with conflicting orders. So the decisions are the cases are independent from each other, but the nature of the orders from the courts are in conflict. You can't agree to both of them at the same time. And so it's like, well, how are you supposed to agree with both? Because both are trying to speak to broad national issues. So, the Biden administration says it's impossible to follow both judges' directives. I tend to agree. The decisions are in conflict. The Biden administration, of course, appealed the Texas decision to the Fifth Circuit, which overruled the 2016 changes, but left in place the original medication. So the district court struck down the entire thing, said the 2000 approval was improper, and then said that the 2016 expansion was improper. The Fifth Circuit only kept in place the expansion, or the ruling relating to the expansion, rather. So the Fifth Circuit said the initial approval was okay, but the expansion was not okay. And now the Supreme Court has put a stay on the entire thing. The appeal court, of course, acted, and then we're off to the U.S. Supreme Court to try to figure out what's going on. And the Supreme Court at least has put in place for a moment a stay on the thing while they try to figure out what the hell to do about the whole thing. And yeah, so that's what's happening. So that brings us to the end of the story about the Supreme Court and what's going on with relation to this approval of this abortion pill that was initially approved by the FDA in 2000 and then expanded in 2016. There were some questions relating to the initial approval, and there were questions relating to the expansion of it, and also questions relating to the timeliness of the challenges by the challengers under federal law, that maybe those challenges came too late, and a whole bunch of other things. The Fifth Circuit put in place a temporary ruling that banned the expansion, so would have rolled it back and prohibit the use by mail. Now the U.S. Supreme Court has to figure out what to do. So we've made this the U.S. Supreme Court's problem. So that's super exciting. And also, as I've noted before, I think that, at least for me, more interesting than the underlying issue relating to the abortion pill itself is the issue relating to these national injunctions. I have a bit of a philosophical issue when it comes to a district court, any district court, issuing orders that are nationwide in effect. That strikes me as really odd, that one of the district courts, just one of them, can issue a decision that has nationwide effect. And I don't really care what the district court's trying to do because it's a principled issue. I think it's a weird thing. And so this U.S. Supreme Court has in the past sort of discussed around the edges of this, but never really got it into the issue. So I'd be thrilled personally and legally if the Supreme Court could just clarify when, if ever, a district court, or for that matter, a court of appeals, which also, by the way, is merely regional in its impact. So can even a court of appeals, which governs maybe 4 or 5 states, issue a nationwide order? Can they do that? If so, under what circumstances? How? And how do you deal with these conflicts when you have different district courts issuing different nationwide orders? So the underlying procedural issue as to these universal, national, global, universal injunctions is perhaps the more interesting issue. And perhaps the U.S. Supreme Court will rule on that and go about it that way, which would be just fine for me, because then we can figure out what the heck the rules are supposed to be. And at least for a moment, that will bring us to the end of discussion of this case. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law. I hope you're all happy to be here. I'm happy to have you here. I'm in reasonably good spirits today, and I would like to try to bring those good spirits to you because, I think one of the things we can do as humans is when we're in good spirits, we can try to spread those spirits because, of course, I have days where I'm not doing well and days where I'm doing well. And on days where I'm doing well, I'd like to express that just as much as days where I'm not doing well and try to pass that forward a little bit to try to bring some joy and renewed spirit into the world. So I would like to embrace you. This is me hugging you. This is my hugging motion. I'm hugging you. I would like to hug you this morning and wish you all a good morning. And I hope you're doing great. Sandra Ramirez is here. NJS. Jojo celebrating a month of membership. We're always thrilled to have all of our uncivilians here. Parallel Jen. Jennifer Rios. Eric is here. Kriska. Sarah Beth. R. Fulmer. Jan. Christine. Drew is here. Evil Coleslaw is here. Fantastic. Drew Bradley. Melissa, Normie. I am Dave is here. Hello, Dave. Glad to have you here, man. DVXII. Let's see. D is 500. So that's 505.13. Okay. Hello, 505.13. Whatever happened to Great Cases content? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe we should get back into doing that. Kit Kat is here. Robbie. Joseph is here. Sherry. Too High Strung. Mama Rowe. T. Ree. David. But D is 500. You can't be at least a little impressed that I knew that off the top of my head. 505.13. Hey, I got to flex my knowledge. Otherwise, you won't think I'm smart anymore. Jen is here. Jim. All right. Let's do something else. Oh, yeah. Sandra also kind of reminding you guys that it'd be helpful to share this on social media. So if you haven't hit the like button, that helps. And if you want to retweet this, there should be a button right under your YouTube where you can just tweet this out, send it on the Twitters, stuff like that. All good things. Happy on 420 coincidence? I think not. I think it is a coincidence. If I really thought that, using I'm trying prescription drugs to make me happier, so, my eyes are sparkling. Okay, that's good. All right, let's discuss a new thing. Skunk 5 is here. Where are skunks 1 through 4? Unspecified. But Skunk 5 is here. You don't know the reference to 420 from the UK? Oh, I forget what it was. It was originally, I think it was originally the criminal code number in LA for marijuana. It was like section 420 of the criminal code, and it was California in general. It was either California in general or LA specifically that marijuana was banned under section 420 of the criminal code. And so 420 became a reference to marijuana itself. And so 420 is now a reference to just marijuana in general. Also, I believe it's Hitler's birthday, but that's less important. Yeah. And then what was it for murder? Was it 187 for the same reason in California? Is it 187 for murder? Became also a bit spread beyond its terms. Became a bit ubiquitous. Yeah, 187. Yeah. So for the same reason, like, yeah, it was section 187 that banned murder in California, and it also became a bit of a reference to murder itself. Yeah. So now you know things. We all learn things. All right. A ex-Yukon senior has been sentenced in relation to shooting his high school classmate to death and kidnapping the victim's girlfriend. Things did not go well in this situation and has ultimately culminated in death and now conviction. The 26-year-old Connecticut man will likely spend the rest of his life behind bars after the judge sentenced him to more than half a century in prison for fatally shooting his high school friend and kidnapping the victim's girlfriend during a crime spree. Incidentally, by the way, in many states, that would be a capital offense because many states define capital murder to be murder plus other stuff. And so murder in furtherance of a kidnapping, for example, would punch the ticket. So I suppose he's lucky that he's not facing the death penalty. So good for him. The judge sentenced the guy to 55 years old for killing the 23-year-old and then kidnapping the man's girlfriend. The sentences will be served concurrently. And that means at the same time. So that's kind of disappointing, I suppose. And he must still be sentenced for another death in the spree, which would also be capital murder, by the way. 2 murders, right? Murder plus stuff. Murder plus another murder would also typically be capital murder. So apparently, he also murdered a 62-year-old with a samurai sword and then wounded an 80-year-old and then holding that homeowner hostage. He's apparently a fan of the murder kidnappings. He likes the murders and he likes the kidnappings. Unclear which he likes more. He apparently apologized to the family, but they didn't accept it. I guess maybe he got them the wrong card. He needed to really spring for the higher dollar value card at Hallmark. The 99-cent card wasn't doing it. He really needed to get one of those $10 or $15 cards. I know they're a little pricey, but sorry for the murder kidnapping. I think you really want to up your apology game. Maybe get them an edibles arrangement. I'm not sure which edible arrangements is best to express the sorrow for the murder kidnapping, but maybe the experts can help you figure out which fruits best express your sorrow. Authorities say the defendant committed the acts as part of a sprawling multi-state spree. Apparently, his motorcycle broke down, He was offered a ride and then attacked the guy. The victim's 80-year-old neighbor tried to help him, but then he attacked him too and held the local homeowner hostage for 24 hours. I asked him if he wanted talks about what took place with the murder, and he told me he hadn't slept in 5 days and just flipped. Okay. He said he didn't know why he did it and he was remorseful. Okay. I mean, expressing remorse for the murder kidnapping by committing another murder kidnapping is a very strange way of expressing some remorse. I don't know that that's how that works. And then he apparently fled the home with his truck and firearm and fatally shot his high school classmate. Court records show he fled to Connecticut and then held the captive at gunpoint for more than 7 hours, found unharmed at the rest stop in New Jersey. So I guess New Jersey also is going to sentence him, so that should end really, really well for him in his multi-state binge. Thus, let me do it this way. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of Peter over here, who looks like a Peter, who apparently went on a multi-state, multi-day, multi-murder, multi-kidnapping spree. And so, yeah, for some reason, in Connecticut and apparently New Jersey as well. So, he's been sentenced to more than 50 years for some of it. And I guess New Jersey will also be sentencing him to some. So I wouldn't really expect him to get out ever. And that is the end of that story. I don't even know what to do with all that. I don't even know what to do with all that, to be honest. You know. Yeah, if they complete the sentence in one state, they'll get shipped to the new state. Yeah, absolutely they will. Yeah. New Jersey will just come pick them right up from the jail cell. Sure they will. Free transportation and everything, no problem. And because it's across state lines, I suppose the feds could also get involved if they want to. Amazingly, it's illegal to kidnap someone across state lines too. So it doesn't look like the feds have gotten interested yet, but not that there's any particular reason for them to, because this guy's going down hard. So, but they could. So, yeah. Where does he serve his sentence? Well, whoever gets to him first. So Connecticut apparently sentenced him first, is the rule in America. So apparently Connecticut got to him first. So he'll serve his Connecticut time before his New Jersey time. So he'll serve his time in Connecticut and then New Jersey. Yeah. That also incidentally applies between the states and federal governments. So if you commit a crime in multiple different states and multiple different jurisdictions go after you, including the feds, it's whoever gets to you first wins. And then, of course, they can reach agreements between themselves beyond that. So one state can defer to another state, or they can reach some other arrangement. But the default rule is whoever gets to you first wins. And sometimes states get mad with each other because they both really want the guy. There's a little fight, a little political fight. Live your sense to life in one state and death penalty in another. I mean, the rule is whoever gets to you first. So I don't believe that rule changes in the case of the death penalty. So I guess you really want to get sentenced in the life in prison state first, if that's the case. Do they usually defer up to federal? I don't think there's any usual about it. No, I don't think I don't think there's a usual practice. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. It depends on their interest in the case, their whims, their needs, whatever. And sometimes Sometimes they defer and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't care. They let the feds go to it first or whatever. Also, there's some advantages to letting a different state go first because, well, a lot of information will come out as a result of that process that will help you in your own prosecution, right? Because you get to see the defense's case, and then you can more tailor your own case as a result because you got to see, some stuff. So there and evidence can come out and it can be used as an investigative. The trial itself in a different state can be used as an investigative tool. So, and if they fuck it up and get a not guilty verdict, then you get to take all that wonderful work that they've done and just be like, yoink, that's mine now, and go at it again. Maybe thought New Jersey would grant him asylum. I mean, Connecticut's pretty far left. I'm not sure which is more left between Connecticut and New Jersey. The other state pay for prison costs? Yeah, that too. Yeah, so I don't know there's any typical practice when it comes to that issue. I think it's kind of ad hoc. That being said, of course, different prosecutors' offices may have standing policies. So, or different states may have standing policies, but my general impression is it's pretty ad hoc. So, anyways, I'm glad I could answer some of these questions. Thank you, by the way, for all the gift memberships. Gift memberships kick ass. Sandra Ramirez giving some nice gift memberships. That kicks ass. Jules Buddha giving some gift memberships also kicks ass. We love all those things. Yeah. My friends, we have all heard about killer cheesecake. I know a place that serves that killer cheesecake. Best cheesecake ever. It is just a killer. Well, someone took the idea of killer cheesecake to its most literal level as a dominatrix tried to kill a friend with a poisoned cheesecake. The dominatrix is not thrilled at being criminally responsible for this and lashed out at the judge during the sentencing process, saying F you to the judge because the dominatrix didn't really believe in being held accountable for the poisoned cheesecake. Okay. Here apparently is a picture of a dominatrix. Okay. Noted. The 47-year-old woman and Russian native who tried to kill a friend who apparently looked a lot like her with poisoned cheesecake lashed out at a state judge yelling F you after being sentenced to more than 2 decades in prison. Victoria over here was led out of the courtroom where she directed the vulgarity at the Queens Supreme Court Justice. Now, this is Queens in New York, and Supreme Court here means trial court because New York is weird. They call their trial courts the Supreme Court. So it's not the Supreme Court, it's a trial court. Anyways, the trial judge, referred to as diabolical just moments before sentencing the 21-year-old, just moments before sentencing her to 21 years in state prison for the 2016 poisoning of the eyelash stylist, Olga. A jury found the dominatrix guilty of second-degree attempted murder, first-degree attempted assault, second-degree assault, unlawful imprisonment, and petite larceny for trying to kill her one-time friend in a scheme relating to identity theft, because the friend apparently looked a lot like her. And so she was trying to steal the person's identity because she looked a lot like her. And so apparently the identity theft scheme went wrong and resulted in poisoned cheesecake. Okay. According to the Queens, New York District Attorney, they went to the home under the guise of bringing her friend some cheesecake from a famous bakery. At that time, they resembled each other. Prosecutors said that they had drugged the pastry, then watched her friend lose consciousness, believing she'd never wake up. She testified during trial her last memory was seeing her walking around the room. The following day, she was discovered unconscious in bed with pills scattered around her body as though it were attempted suicide. So she tried to stage the scene to make it look like attempted suicide. But apparently they figured it out. Prosecutors then say that she returned home from the hospital. She discovered that her Ukrainian passport and U.S. authorization card for employment were missing, along with a gold ring, $4,000, and expensive purses. So she went to the hospital for the self-harm attempt. And when she came back, she couldn't help noticing that a lot of her ID and other valuables were missing. So, yeah, law enforcement agents with DHS investigated the scene, discovered a sedative that was in the cheesecake residue. The Drug Enforcement Administration tested pills and identified the same drug. So, yeah. Prior to sentencing, they read a victim impact statement saying she feared for her life. I would think so. She faced a maximum of 25 years, so pretty much getting all of it. A ruthless and calculated con artist is going to prison for a long time to try to murder her way to a personal profit and gain. Thankfully, the victim survived and were able to deliver justice. Fun. Thus, that brings us to the end of the story of the dominatrix, the Russian dominatrix, I suppose living up to all the stereotypes, who decided to just check every possible box. Russian, dominatrix, poison cheesecake, identity theft. Wow. So this New York story has apparently come to a New York end, as the woman has been sentenced to 21 years in prison for the poison cheesecake relating to the identity theft. And that, for the moment, brings us to the end of discussion of this story. Jen gives $10 to say just because. Well, Jen, thanks for that. The petite has to do with the citizenship stuff? Presumably, yes. I mean, it just is a dollar value assessment. So I suppose it relates to the identity documents or something. I don't know exactly, and I don't 100% care. But, petite. Pettit. Is it Pettit? Is it Pettit? It might be Pettit. Hold on, I have to, hold on. Petty. Petty. Okay, Petty. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Don't want to discuss that again. Petty. Yeah. It's like, yeah, so it's an alternate spelling of a word that you know. Anyways. A pizza delivery man has helped police nab a suspect with a well-timed maneuver that was caught on video. Pizza man bringing all the deliveries, delivering the pizza, delivering justice. Let's find out a little bit more. The Pennsylvania pizza man was integral in arresting a suspect who is in the process of eluding. Tyler Morrell, who works for Coco's Pizza in Brookhaven, repeatedly spoke about the unusual weekend in a recent episode of the show After Hours. I'd only been there about 3 months, the pizza delivery man said, but it's been pretty normal. Every day is normal. You got your slow days, you got your busy days. This is like one of those middle days. I'm in the middle of the shift working until like 9. It's 3:30. I knew I had cash order like 5 minutes down the road. And I get up there, I pull up. My car's on the side. Plenty of room for someone to get by if they're driving reasonably. Then Morale, pizza man, noticed a high-speed chase just off in the distance that immediately began coming closer and closer. I get to the door. I knock on the door. I ring the doorbell. And the person opens the main door but doesn't open the glass door all the way. So I can't get the pizza to her. So I'm stuck with the pizza. Pizza woman refusing delivery for some reason. And then, so once I hear the siren and the screeching, she shuts the door completely. She's watching from inside. And then I'm there, stuck with pizza in hand. There's nowhere to go. So I hear all this screeching. The person almost flipped over. In the footage, a police sports utility vehicle can be seen tailing the hatchback. The smaller car stops at an intersection and the driver gets out, turns around and takes to the sidewalk, where Morel can be seen with a pizza box in hand, walking cautiously towards the sidewalk and astutely surveying the scene before him in quick fashion. He was just spinning his tires in the grass, the pizza delivery guy explained. The cop's pulling behind him. You can see he's trying to get out. And he gets out eventually. And the cops weren't even out of their car yet, but he was in full sprint. So I'm like, I don't know if they're going to catch him. I didn't even want to take the chance. Like, I didn't want to watch and be like, oh, just let them run and get him, you know? Make them chase him down. Who knows what could have happened? So I was like, I can't use my hands. I probably would have tackled him if I could. I was like, I got to keep the pizza good. Pizza delivery man is very serious about his job. I got to get cash for the pizza because I'm thinking I'm not going to lose money at the end of the day. Pizza delivery man is going to make sure your pizza gets delivered no matter what happens. He's very, very serious about his job. Then the moment of truth arrived. Seen wearing a red shirt and greenish brown shorts, Morel makes a series of slight positioning steps and hops as the suspect, wearing a black hoodie, attempts to run past him. But then delivery man, pizza box in hand, steps one leg out and trips the running man, causing him to fall down. As he rises, a waiting officer appears to draw his gun and makes the arrest. It was wild, pizza delivery man said. I just had a split second. Kind of like trying to fake it a bit, like I wasn't going to do anything. So I was just standing there. And then I backed up, kind of faded away, and I moved forward with my leg out. Outstanding. The footage apparently became somewhat viral and shared by the person who ordered the pizza from their Ring doorbell. Honestly, I didn't really think about doing anything but stepping in. I was raised to step in if you don't see something's right, so I just want to do my part. But stopping crime wasn't only concern of Pizza Man. He wanted to make sure a customer got the pizza. I did as much as I could to prevent the pizza from sliding. Wow, Pizza Man made his delivery. Pizza Man is glorious. From what I saw, there's video of them enjoying the pizza delivered. So I think everything was still intact. There was also a bag on top of the pizza box that did not fall during the interaction with the suspect. So even though he stuck out his leg to trip the guy, the bag on top of pizza box remained intact. So the pizzeria also cheered Morel in a Facebook post. They need to give him a raise. Special shout out to our driver who assisted the police and still delivered the food unharmed. Wow. The pizza delivery driver said the woman who ordered the pizza sent him the video, which he shared with the restaurant, which in turn shared it online. The pizza delivery man said he received a $10 tip on the $25 order. I'll take that. That's a good tip. I don't know, man. I don't know. $10 on a $25 order is a pretty good tip normally. But man, this is pretty exceptional service. I think he's being cheated. Pizza delivery man is being dissed. Pizza delivery man deserves much bigger tips, man. He delivered that pizza. No matter what happened. Wow. Apparently, pizza delivery man also fancies himself an entrepreneur and is planning on opening a cheesesteak business. He also served previously serving the food to New York firehouses and police departments in the aftermath of 9/11. The pizza shop is getting a substantial amount of free publicity. He wanted to make sure a tire shop got him a free tire after the incident. I gave a little shout out to a tire air shop and they threw on a free tire for me. Wow. The police, for their part, in their Facebook post, credited the man with the help. Thank you, sir, for the assist, the police said. If you're interested in a job, we're always looking for good people. Costco's Pizza, you have great employees. The pizza man apparently is mulling over the offer for the police department. I'll definitely consider it. I definitely would say I can't say I definitely wouldn't do it. Thus, that comes to the end of the story of Pizza Man, who is best pizza man ever. Pizza Man was tasked with a simple job: deliver pizza to customer. And he did his job. But as he approached the door, there was a police chase afoot. The person did not want delivery of their pizza. So he boldly stepped into action to make sure his customer was safe and would want the pizza, and tripped the suspect so the police could arrest them, and then delivered a perfectly intact pizza. Pizza Delivery Man is a hero to us all. We should all be more like Pizza Delivery Man, and that, at least for the moment, brings us to the end of discussion of this story. Good times. STE Funny says, our cat loves watching your videos. I just tweeted you a video of him watching you. I look forward to watching that video later. I look forward to watching a video of a cat watching me. I will definitely watch it. That sounds fun. I kind of like those videos because every once in a while I'll see a video where someone is watching like me on like Law and Lumber or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, there are people who watch these videos. And I don't know why I'm amazed by it, but it's like every time I'm like, wait a second, people are watching this. Why? Oh, Lord. Today's a good day. Watch the rocket launch? No. Vegan Lion says I'm something else. Thanks. Thanks for the laugh from the $10 apology card and edible arrangement comments. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good too. I thank you for the appreciation. All right. I probably should have done the pizza story after this story, so I'm debating whether or not to do this story at all. Because it's a tone change in the wrong direction. Yeah, let's skip it. Let's finish up with Florida Man. For today's story of Florida Man, we turn our attention to Walt Disney World in Florida. Walt Disney World, of course, has been in the news in its continuing conflict with Florida relating to the administration of the Reedy Creek Administrative District, in which Walt Disney World is in. Many interesting stories there, to be sure, but it's not the only thing happening in Walt Disney World, because Florida Man is also in Walt Disney World because it's in Florida. So, Florida Man got drunk at Disney Springs and warned police they better hope he's never their nurse. Then his family abandoned him. Florida Man making a jerk of himself at Disney Springs, threatening the cops. Good times. The Florida Man, who said he's a registered nurse, threatened the Orange County Sheriff deputies after he was arrested following a drunken scene at Disney Springs. Here is picture of Florida Man, which, not that bad a shot, actually. He cleans up his act a little bit. He could do all right. It took 3 deputies to place his arms behind his back and secure him, Orange County sheriffs reported. Once secured, he continued to tell deputies he was going to sue them. Good luck. He also advised them that he was a registered nurse and told deputies we better hope he's never a nurse in our emergency room. His employer may have some thoughts concerning those comments. The incident occurred in January. The sheriff's office released public documents 2 months later, so this is why we're hearing about it now. Apparently, his actions attracted law enforcement attention because he was being belligerent and cursing at and in front of children. He was reportedly making inappropriate comments to children at the Once Upon a Toy store and visiting several stores in Disney Springs. Disney security asked him to leave, but then he turned his anger on security employees, swearing at them and making derogatory comments. Disney wants him trespassed. Yeah, please leave. No, you're not trespassing. Yeah. His brother apparently tried to calm him down, but Florida Man isn't all about that being calmed down life. He apparently clenched his fist and appeared ready to fight, so his brother left him alone. Then he was escorted to the Lime garage, where a family member was supposed to pick him up, but it was later determined that Florida Man had upset his family because of his actions, so they refused to come pick him up. Wow. So his own family left him alone in the Lime garage, which meant he had to take an Uber to get off the property. Wow. As law enforcement led him to the pickup area for the Uber, so law enforcement still trying to handle this in a non-arresty way, let us escort you to the Uber area. He apparently decided to record the police on his phone. While he did this, recording his own actions on the phone, he continued to walk and not change direction when small children and family were walking, according to the report. He would apparently sway into their path and tell them to get out of his way while waving his trespass warning in their faces. Apparently, Florida Man was told multiple times to keep walking towards the exit because, you're being trespassed. And he would apparently stop and curse at the deputies. He then refused to call an Uber and was still acting aggressively with families and young children, apparently getting so close to law enforcement, he accidentally spat in one of the deputies' faces. Jesus Christ, dude. As deputies tried to put him in handcuffs, why would they arrest him? He seems like such an upstanding guy. As they tried to put him in handcuffs, he braced his arms. He made comments that he was an RN before being taken to jail. His attorney is asking the state's attorney's office to put him into some sort of pre-trial diversion program. Okay. So that's happening. and his attorney has not responded to further requests for comments. Apparently, and unsurprisingly, this is just the latest in a series of drunk and disruptive guests at Disney Springs. Some prior incidents include the following. A man gets drunk at the T-Rex Cafe, unleashes dinosaur-like rampage at Disney Springs, fighting a manager, knocking over a child, and attempting to bite a sheriff's deputy. Florida man gets too drunk at T-Rex Cafe in Disney Springs, gets hospitalized, and abandons a child. Disney man takes off clothes and brawls at Disney Springs, slips on vomit into bushes during a fight. So many future Florida men with many future Florida stories for all those things. Thus, that brings us to the end of Florida man's adventures once upon a toy. Apparently, Florida man over here was acting drunk and belligerent, and Disney wanted him to leave. And he apparently had other thoughts about the issue. And the police apparently were trying to a little bit go out of their way to try to get him to just leave. And then apparently accidentally spit on him, the police. And I guess, well, that was too much for the police at that point, and who can blame them? It's like, we were trying really hard. But, you've been resisting and you're refusing to call the Uber. So now we'll just arrest you for trespass. Yeah. So he has only himself to blame. And his attorney wants some sort of pre-divergent program. And also, I imagine his employers will have some thoughts regarding his apparent threats to use his RN role to give shoddy treatment to the police if they ever visit his hospital. I imagine that might involve some discussions with the hospital. And that, for the moment, brings us to the end of discussion of this story. Yeah, I don't know what the nature of the trespass notice is. I don't know if it's a stay away forever or what exactly it is, but yeah. He may be barred from Disney for yeah. That's the end of our stream, by the way. Those are all the stories I had today. Well, I did have one more that was that I decided to skip, but we're not going to do that today. Maybe tomorrow. Too much of a tone change. Plus, I'm in a good mood and I don't want to ruin it. Oh, Lord. I've got a couple minutes now. I've got about 10 minutes of free time. And then I got to go to my haircut appointment because my hair is so disastrous. I, trimmed my beard again today. Maybe I'll take a razor and really clean up the edges. And minutes of free time, yeah, I have an appointment I got to go to. The haircut I just mentioned. And then, of course, after that, I'll edit the stories and post some things and blah, 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 blah. Generous says, thanks. Nice to see your fabulous community. Been a loyal fan base. Yeah, I got 260 of you guys here. We're doing good. These morning streams are going well. It's nice to have something regular. It's good. I'm doing good. Let it grow out. No, no, no. Look at this. Look at this uncut. Look at this. Look how much hair there is. That's not sexy. That's not sexy at all. Will I be willing to do something different and cover a First Amendment auditor? Yeah, maybe. That sounds fun. Something to grab onto. Oh Lord. Oh, you sent me a really funny story? Oh, did you? Where? Did you send it to me on Discord or something? Let me check a look. Okay, or did you send me on Twitter? Let me see. Too many places for people to contact me. That's the problem. Arizona man arrested for baptizing himself naked in a church fountain. That's pretty solid. Tell you what, I'll do it tomorrow. No way, I have a story for tomorrow. Just realize you missed most of this. Yeah, don't worry. This will be available for replay, and of course, the best stories will be cut up and released later. Where can you send me a copy of Juicy Smollett's appeal? Send it to me at my email address or Twitter. Either one's fine. Kurt at uncivillawllc.com is my email address. It's on my link tree, which also is contained in the comment section below. There's a little link that says connect with me. And that will take you to all the places to find me. It will give you my postal address, email address, Discord, Twitter, TikTok, I think, and everything else. You can send me stories on Twitter, I guess. DM me or something. That'd be good. Read the appeal. I might read the appeal. No, Jillian said you're craving cigarettes. I've never had the that particular issue, but I understand the idea because of food issues and like food related things and how that can be. Um, so or at least I think I've had comparable experiences. I mean, I wouldn't know for sure, having never been addicted to cigarettes, so I can't really compare them. But based on people's descriptions of it and based on my own things, I think I have had comparable experiences. So I will simply say that I know that it can be difficult, and it can be, and I would, maybe a nicotine patch or something. I don't know, or maybe a vape that just has nicotine in it. Maybe that's the way. I don't, I'm not an expert on such things, but at least you have some potentially other viable options. Food addiction's hard because it's hard to not eat. Although I suppose there's lots of other food, but you can't just like quit food. So unlike cigarettes, which you at least in principle could just quit. But yeah, maybe not with cheesecake though. Use lozenges. There you go. Maybe lozenges that might work. Well, sorry if my idea wasn't a good idea. I just was trying to help. I mean, I apologize if it was a bit mansplaining because I probably told you everything you already know. But I was trying to be supportive. So, mm. All right, guys, my time has expired for the moment. I do have to get on the move, so I will not be late for my thing. But I've enjoyed our time together, and I hope you have too. It's been fun. And we will be with this together, and we'll have even more fun, and we'll post some stories and some things. It'll be great, and we'll go from there. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all is well as I look for my lens cap. Until later, my friends, goodbye.